Cast, streaming. I hit start broadcast and it's saying live, and there's a green bar running.
Hello, everyone. So it is. You know how to talk. People aren't stopping to talk.
So far, so good. I got the IT guy standing
1,
here.
2, 3. Eyes on me. Awesome.
Can you hear somebody speaking?
Okay. So it is 6:15-ish, and we are going to start settling into these chairs because we're going to have to bring some more chairs that are at the tables over here so people have places to sit. If you have not had a chance to write a question, we already have plenty of questions. I'll tell you that right now. And it's crossed kind of a big cross-section of information. But if you do have a question, please make sure to write it down. The questionnaire, the question papers are up in front.
What's that?
And then we will go through them and hand them to Mark. We'll be the moderator. So
Perfect.
feel free to settle in. And
All right.
if you have a question,
All right. Thank you, Eric. Whoa, what just happened? Okay. Sorry, I plugged my phone in it. What about how I have the angle? Yeah. But they are going to look, that's about how it's going to have to be. I might be able, once everybody sits down, because we've got chairs that you can't see that's right next to me, so walking the aisle, which kind of can do. Yeah, which is nice because that way I don't have to move it. Yes. Yep, exactly. I know. Was that any better? Yep. Yeah, and this is the only way we get the whole table and podium. Yeah, pretty much. How's that? Okay. All right. Okay. Where is it? I thought it was in the Finder. Oh, right. That's in apps, right? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I forgot that one step. I was looking. Yep, it's on input. Yeah. Okay. So right now, are you still just seeing the crowd? Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, Eric. Text you later. I kind of have a choice between, how's that? It's like we either get more chairs and heads or more lights. So how's that now? I said we're either going to get more lights or more heads.
Do you have a power cord I can plug in?
Huh?
Do you have a power cord I can plug in for you?
Yes, please. Talk to Eric. It might be because I don't have a power cord. My phone ran out of batteries, and I borrowed Dave Price's power cord to charge it. Because I only have 9% battery life. Hey. Yeah, I'm gonna. Eric, can you answer Mark's phone? Answer it. He's calling you right now. Bye.
What are you going to do in 6 hours? Guaranteed.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I've got 3 bars.
Oh, there we go. Aha, it's charging now. It might be because it wasn't plugged in.
Why do you need the phone?
Just in case everybody needs more. Yeah, but okay, it's charging now.
He's on.
And my battery was dying.
I do. Oh, it's hot. I'm going to put it back down here.
Yeah, I have to like. Okay. Okay, yeah, there's one guy sitting there, so how's that? The guy that you can see sitting down is the last guy, so that should work. Okay. Okay. Okay, my phone is charging again. Okay. I did. If I move it anymore, I'm gonna lose that one dude. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you should see a guy sitting down. Oh. Yep, I think so. I need a chair. All right, Eric, I'm gonna let you go. Okay, perfect. You can still send it just to my phone. Okay. All right. Bye.
I know you just lined it up so perfectly. Is there any way we
Yeah?
can scoot this back or pull the table forward? This is scaring me.
Okay.
So if you just lift it, I'll pull the table. No, it's not on the edge.
Yep. Yes. I don't like it. Don't say it. I lost it. Right now. We totally record it. We say it. Our friends and neighbors here in this room. Yeah, I don't have that kind of time. I got a good picture of folks that I were in the street. I just felt like there was a couple when it was good. Yeah, I might. That's one of the few ones I think I may actually do that with.
Okay.
Yes.
Good it be recorded?
Yes. Yeah, Mark and I were just saying that. Rosie, hey, what's up, girly girl? How are you? I'm with Terry again. Well, yeah, duh.
Hey, Rosie.
Hey, how are you, David? Trouble? You don't do a very good job. He doesn't do it for me. He does it for the love of art. Yes, I know. Bill Hall was going to speak for art today. Oh, yeah, he told me that. I was surprised that you're not.
You know how it is.
She is. Shrinking violent is what I think.
Freaking Rose, maybe?
Yeah.
No, I try to stay out of, like, of staff, and I don't want to get involved in that.
How's it going? Are you guys running this thing? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I'm Justin with Lincoln City homepage. You guys
No, I'm the news guard.
Moderator. News guard.
Mark.
Mark, nice to meet you, man. Country Media.
Yep.
Got a cool news. You know who I am? Have you heard of me? Or
Pardon me?
have heard of me? Do you know who I am?
I do. Yes. I know the page.
Well, hey, yeah, that's just me, man. One man show.
So the person is that redhead right there.
What do we do?
That's Heather Hatton.
I'm the PR for.
She's got the
Really
room.
nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Heather?
Heather.
Hi.
I'm Justin. Dave Price is
Yeah, I think I've met you because you used to be at Putton Bat.
right back. You know me.
I totally remember you.
I'm a Lincoln City guy.
That's right.
Is there anything?
Good. Okay.
That's a good question.
Okay, so if we can get the council, or the candidates, starting up here, if they can come up and start seating, up here behind your name. We do have two that are being represented by somebody in their party, so we'll take their minute. And then if you can fill in up here, again, like if you have questions that you're like, as they're answering up here and you're like, oh, I want to ask that question, we will still have those forms back there, you can ask those. Because we have so many questions, and I think that we all understand that this is It's a pretty important year. There's a lot of council that is running, so we've got a lot of questions coming our way. We're gonna, each person is gonna get 3 minutes to just talk about who they are, what their platform is, whatever they want to do in their 3 minutes. And then that's appropriate, like we want them to be appropriate. We are gonna shorten the answer time to 1.5 minutes because we've got so many questions out there that we want to make sure that you are able to ask additional questions and follow-ups. We've got a timer in the back. She'll be taking care of things so that you guys can check that out. But first of all, since we're at Chinook Woods Casino Resort, I'd like anybody who is military veteran to please stand. We'd like to recognize you and thank you for your service. Thank you. And I want us to do exercises if we could all raise. I just saw Roger take a bite of a brownie, so I thought that'd be good.
Yes, I saw
Not that that means you need to exercise. But if we could stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah. I thought who was going to be the person in the room that said play ball? Thank you. That's good. That's good. John Skipper. That's good. So, okay, first of all, I'm just going to be welcoming you very quickly, and I'm going to turn this over to Mark Smith, who is going to be our moderator, and he's the editor of the News Guard, the local newspaper. We have a lot of people to thank that have helped put this on. It's been really great to have the Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce really dive into this. We haven't had that much support in years from other organizations, so it's really great. Chinook Woods Casino Resort, of course. I'm Heather Hatton. I'm the publications manager here. Teresa Simmons, I think, started this years ago, and it's been quite the hit. But Chinook Woods Casino Resort, we couldn't do this kind of a venue without them. They provide the food, all the sound, and all that. So we really appreciate them. The Confederate Tribes of Siletz, without their support, we don't get to do what we do. The News Guard, they're live streaming this on their website, and Northwest Natural actually covered that cost for us. So we really appreciate that because there's a lot of people who can't be here. We know that there's something going on in Coos Bay, and that's why Dick Anderson and Arnie are not here because I think they're in Coos Bay, right? So people can watch this after this is over, and they correct on the News Guard site. So that's really important, and we really appreciate that. I am now, is that all I need to think? And cell phones off as I carry this around, and I'm texting to make sure that my 16-year-old is picking up my 7-year-old. So, I mean, we multitask, what do you do? So I'm going to turn this over to Mark. There will be 2 microphones up here. You're going to have to pass them around, and I can be right here and help get it to one end or the other. I do. This is the other. Thank you, Riley. Appreciate that. Thanks for pointing that out. I will put this up here after I step. So let's leave them on. So be careful. I have totally done that. Is this on?
All right. Thank you, Heather. I am Mark Smith. I'm the publisher of the News Guard and a member of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Thank you all for coming tonight. Especially thank the candidates for coming tonight. Appreciate your participation in this. One thing that Heather did not mention is we will go for 2 hours. We've got lots of great questions. Don't know if we'll get through them all. We'll try. Heather mentioned that we have cut down the response time a little bit. We were going to give 2 minutes for a response. We're going to give 1.5 minutes now. Our timer, where's our timer? And our timer is going to hold up 45 seconds and 15 seconds as you go through your answers. So you'll have an idea how much time you have remaining. So I think that is the only other thing I wanted to go through. With that, we begin with allowing the candidates to give a general outline of their platform and any introduction that they want to do. And we'll start on the far end with Marvin Samus. Marvin?
Here or up there?
You can sit right there is fine with us. Save us time. It should be.
Hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Marvin Sanis. I'm from Salem. I grew up in Mount Angel, been here all my life. I've been a small business owner in Salem for 50 years.
Hold the microphone a little closer, Martin. Thank you.
How's that? I filed to run for the U.S. House of Representatives so that I could talk to the people of my community of this district about our continuing war. Last week we began our 16th year at war with the planet's 5th poorest country. Afghanistan is the 5th poorest country on the planet. Why are we at war with a country that cannot field uniforms? I'm going to show you why I think we're there. We're spending $100 billion a year in Afghanistan. We have 6 permanent military bases in Afghanistan. Now, this chart, this is poppy planting in Afghanistan for 20 years. Down here at the bottom, this is 20 years, 1994. This is the year we invaded Afghanistan. The United Nations and the Afghan government had the planting down to 19,000 acres. In 2014, this is 700,000 acres of poppies. This supports a worldwide heroin market of $60 billion a year. Now, we have in Salem an epidemic, and I'm sure you have an epidemic on the coast, a heroin epidemic. We have 950 kids in Salem's 24, Salem Kaiser 24J, we have 950 kids, they guesstimate, that are homeless this morning. And many of us think it is a direct result of the heroin epidemic. Now, how do we talk about this heroin epidemic? First of all, we don't talk about it at all. If you go on the DEA's website right now, they will tell you that only 4% of America's heroin comes from Afghanistan. This is technically true, but it's misleading. Afghanistan produces over 90% of the planet's opium. So they're right, only 4% comes from Afghanistan, but 90% of the opium. It leaves Kandahar as opium. Kandahar is the busiest airport in the world. 5,000 flights a day, 200 shipping containers. Now, they tell us that this epidemic, the Congress and the media tell us that this epidemic is from 14-year-olds getting into mom's medicine cabinet and stealing the opiates, the pain meds. No, the epidemic is because of the supply and the cost and the demand. We have a spiritual crisis in this country that we have to address. Now, how are we going to do that? We must start talking about this goddamn war we are fighting in Asia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marvin. Representing Artie Roeblen tonight is Bill Hall, and Bill and Mick McLean next to him are both representing candidates. And while they have an opportunity to represent their candidates now, we've asked them that they won't be responding to questions directly for their candidates, but they can certainly take questions or take responses or take questions back to their candidates. So with that said, Bill.
Bet you thought you were done with me in May. Yeah. I'm very glad to be here on behalf of Senator Roeblen, who, as we heard, is at another event tonight and unfortunately has been a bit hobbled on the campaign trail these last few weeks. He developed a severe infection in his hip bone. He's undergoing successful treatment for that, but that still means daily hospital visits for infusion antibiotics, but he's responding really well and will be back to full mobility very soon. This is his statement. Greetings, Commissioner Hall. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to read the following on my behalf. As a lifelong coastal resident, my wife Arlene and I have spent the last 42 years on the Oregon coast where we raised our 3 children. I am very grateful for the trust and confidence placed in me by the voters of Senate District 5, which goes from Coos Bay to Oceanside. I am humbled by the privilege accorded me in representing you in the Oregon Senate. Please never doubt that I am committed to working with you and our local officials in advancing the best interests of Lincoln County. I served as math educator, dean of students, and principal at Marshfield High in Coos Bay. In 2004, I retired, but was later encouraged by former Senator and Mayor of Coos Bay, Joanne Berger, to run for office. In 2010, I became the co-speaker of the Oregon House and worked collaboratively with my Republican colleague, Bruce Hanna of Roseburg. I made a promise then to work with each and every one of my colleagues to help create a better Oregon. I have consistently reached out to Republican voters in the district with a proven track record of working across party lines. Some legislators speak nostalgically of the 2011 session when Roblin and Hanna were co-speakers of an evenly divided House and pushed through sweeping education and healthcare reforms and closed a $3.5 billion budget shortfall. In their recent endorsement of Senator Roblin, the Register Guard wrote, Senator Arnie Roblin has been active on issues that affect all of the coast, bringing together tribal representatives, environmentalists, business people, public officials, and others to solve problems. He is proud of his role in the Coastal Legislative Caucus and his work on issues such as opening new overseas markets for local farmers, the sustainable pink shrimp industry, passage of legislation such as the Oregon Investment Act, creation of the Early Learning Council, and new protections against foreclosure. 5 years ago, he created the annual Oregon Coast Economic Summit, which brings together hundreds of business, government, and community leaders to work on economic development and job creation. Topics have ranged from ecotourism to healthcare, craft breweries, to ocean acidification. In 2011, the Oregon Business Association named me Statesman of the Year for my achievements in public service, consensus building, and forging collaborative solutions to critical issues facing Oregon. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Nick?
I'm Nick McLean, and I'm here standing in for Dick Anderson, and that's what he looks like. Some of you already know that. I got to know Dick by serving on boards with him and on committees with him and for him, and drinking gallons and gallons of coffee at early morning community gathering that he's famous for. So here is Dick's statement. My name is Dick Anderson, and I want to work for you in the state senate. You know me as the former mayor of Lincoln City, and I serve on the city council. My wife and I are happily retired. We spend our time volunteering for community organizations, playing with our grandchildren, and walking our dog, Mr. Lincoln. I am not looking for a career in politics. I'm looking to give back to my community, to give to the coast the advocate it deserves. While I was working for you as mayor, I grew increasingly frustrated with the legislature for forgetting our coastal issues. It seems like our politicians often forget there's something west of Salem. When I'm elected to the state senate, I won't make that same mistake. Senate District 5 runs from Tillamook to Coos Bay, but no matter where I am, there's one issue that's on everybody's mind: jobs. I've been talking with people from all walks of life about improving the job market in Oregon. The secret? Here in Lincoln City, we've learned that there is no silver bullet for creating good living wage jobs. It's all about making the coast an attractive, stable place to start a business and grow that business. It's a formula. We need good schools to show business owners, doctors, and others that the coast is a great place to raise a family. When I'm elected to the state senate, I'll cast my vote to make education a priority by funding it first, not last. I'll also push to increase our investment in vocational programs and fight to increase the percentage of our state budget that we spend on education. Schools like CAP don't have the resources to lobby for the scraps that the legislature gives out. The percentage of our state budget that funds schools goes down each year, not up. Our overall state budget is growing, but our politicians are leaving our kids behind. We need workforce housing so families can find a comfortable and safe place to live. During my time as mayor of Lincoln City, we created a plan to turn a decaying subdivision into workforce housing. That subdivision is now closed for a contractor. I also led changes to our local ordinances, making it cheaper and easier to build new housing. As your state senator, I'll vote for common sense changes to grow the availability and affordability of housing. We need modern healthcare facilities. Rural hospitals like Samaritan North Lincoln are under attack. New regulations and outdated facilities make it difficult to recruit new doctors and to provide our communities with the services we deserve. As you know, here in Lincoln City, we've made an arrangement to build a brand new hospital at zero tax increase. To you, the taxpayer, we need to think outside the box instead of relying on tax and spend policies. Finally, I'm done.
David.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's so good to see so many interested and familiar faces here in the room tonight. I'm David Gomberg. I'm your state representative. I just want to tell you how proud and how grateful I am to be able to say that to you. You know, a state representative has the responsibility and the opportunity to improve our economies, to improve our communities, and to improve the lives of everyday people. I take those responsibilities very, very seriously. I'll tell you, it's the hardest work I've ever done. It's also the most rewarding work that I've ever done. I travel around this wonderful district of ours. I see people that are starting new businesses. They're looking toward the sustainable future for themselves and for their families and for the people that may work for them in the future. And often they're doing that with little more than their experience, their creativity, and their raw economic courage. I see families that are just starting out, and some of them looking to buy a home and looking to the future and hoping that their kids enjoy at least the same kind of opportunities they did, or hopefully a better life. And I see retirees that are coming here with a lifetime of experience who are contributing back to their communities and making our coastline more resilient, more interesting, more vibrant. And I see my job as a state representative to empower that can-do spirit. When I go back to Salem in February, my priorities will remain much as they have been since I first went to Salem for all of you. And that's, first of all, to give our kids and our grandkids the education they deserve, to make sure that our seniors are safe and secure and independent in their own homes as long as they choose to remain there, to make sure that we have health care that's accessible and affordable, to make sure that we have housing that is accessible and affordable, and to take care of the magnificent environment that brought many of us here to live in the first place. And last, and probably more important than all the others, is to make sure that we are ready when the ground starts shaking under our feet, and that we're in a position to withstand and recover from a major event that's going to come here at some point in the future. I represent a district that stretches from Yachats to Tillamook and inland as far as Sheridan, but as most of you know, Susan and I live right here in Lincoln City. It is a great joy to take our coastal attitude over to Salem. And sometimes you hear that politics in Oregon is focused in Portland and the rest of us are voting with the Portland representatives. I want to tell you that it's my job not to vote with the folks from Portland. It's my job to make sure they're voting with all of us. So if you give me the opportunity to return to Salem, I will continue to focus on those priorities and to make sure that the rest of the coast is paying attention to the concerns and the interests and the lives of the people that live here in the most wonderful part of Oregon, the most wonderful part of our country. Thank you.
I'm not a politician. I'm not a great public speaker. I'm Jim Davis, contractor. I've been here a little over 22 years now. I have served on the Lincoln City Council in the past, Ward 2. Unfortunately, I wanted to move out to Rhodes End, so when I moved, I became the president of Ward 1 now, and I had to resign the council. With that said, I've also done quite a bit in my time here. I've been associated with the chamber for 20 years, better than 20 years. Been president of the chamber, served on the board for 3 years. Served for BAMA for over 5 years. I ran in charge of BAMA down in the south end of town. I've served on the board of Angels Anonymous for well over 17 years now. Mr. Robertson and others. And then 3 years ago, I received a Lifetime Achievement Award here at a chamber function. But I told everybody I didn't feel it was time to retire and quit serving the community. So with that, I'm jumping back into the race for council. The things I'm most important to me and everybody has talked about here again tonight is affordable housing.
is probably the number one thing that we need in this town. I feel that the city's not doing enough to make that come about. I read articles in the paper, everybody says we have everything in place now for affordable housing. We don't have everything in place. I'm up at the building department desk 3 times a week. There's no contractor staying there taking out permits for affordable housing. We have to do more. We have to get the city to provide incentives. We have to waive the SDC fees, which are water and sewer hookup fees. Other towns have done that successfully. We're losing one of our builders now to Astoria because they waived all the fees. Who's going there to build his apartments and affordable housing. We need to step up the plate and do the same thing as the city here. The second thing on my plate is the children here that are homeless. Right now it's not critical, but I don't want to see it get out of hand like it has in Portland. And we start having little communities that people springing up. I'd rather help other organizations out through the city help solve that problem earlier. The other important thing to me is our roads. Being a resident of Roads End now, we have some of the worst roads in town, and now we're paying the higher taxes in town like everybody else. So I'd like to see the city step up and do something about our roads out there, as well as the rest of the roads in town that are deteriorating, especially in Roads End. So with that said, I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Hello, everyone. I'm Deanna Hinton. I'm running for City Council Ward 1, and I appreciate your vote. I'd love to have your vote. My husband and I retired a few years ago, about 4.5, and we decided to move wherever our hearts took us. And so we came here to Lincoln City, and actually it pulled us here. We've been coming here for over 30 years with our family, and there wasn't another place on earth we wanted to live. So here we are. The first thing on my list of ideas for City Council to take on is the homelessness. It is critical here. We have 433 homeless students in North Lincoln County. 135 of those is in Lincoln City schools, and that is not acceptable to me. And so I just want to say that we need to do something about that. Right now, the city is working with and coordinating all the different nonprofits that are working on this issue, which is the first thing to do, and it'll point out where the gaps are, where the city can help with that. The next thing, of course, is affordable housing. We all know that. It's critical and crucial here in Lincoln City. We've lost a lot of good workers to other places because they were unable to find housing, such as teachers and people that work for the hospital. The idea of reducing the SDCs, the system development fees, is not what I would call a good idea because then that money has to come from somewhere else to cover those fees. Right now, those system development costs cover parks and roads and sewer and water, and if it doesn't come out of the building part of it, then we have to get it from somewhere else. And Astoria does, I believe that's what my friend Jim here was talking about. They don't have any land left hardly to build on, so, and they wish they did have that SDC fees to fall back on because they are having to have taxes rather than fees, which is inappropriate. There are ways in which there are ways in which to lower the cost by deferring that cost. It doesn't have to be upfront, and there is a process already in place for the city to do that. And emergency preparedness is also one of the top things on my list. We are 50 years past due for the earthquake. It's going to happen. And I think we as individuals all have a responsibility to be prepared for that. Likewise, I think the city has a responsibility to its citizens and to all the tourists that come. We need escape routes marked. We need supply caches in every neighborhood, and we need go kits for all the visitors at all the accommodations for the visitors. I have a lot of experience that I can bring to the city council. I'm currently on the planning commission. I am retired from the city of Portland, and so I'm quite familiar with how city governance works. And And there are a lot of ways to get a lot of good creative projects completed. And with that, I think I'm out of time, but I have a whole bunch more to say. So ask me.
Hi, my name is Riley Hoagland, and I am running for City Council Ward number 2. I am a father of 2 children, one at Ocean Lake and one at Taft, so I get to see that perspective. I also work for the school district. I work for the after-school program and see those students there. Additionally, I substitute in the classified area, so that's non-teaching. So that's the structured learning center, the resource center, and those kinds of things that those children that really need a little bit more. And so it's really rewarding. It makes me, it's very rewarding and very challenging at the same time. So I'm really happy to be a part of that, and it's been something that I wanted to do for a long time. What else? I have 3 things that I've really been saying that I like to do with the city, the council, being on council, is diversify city council. And I don't think it's hard to see why I think that, but bringing the age down and really speaking for those people that don't really feel that they're represented. And I feel that in order to look at those issues and look at the problems and look at the things that come to council, you have to be able to look at it from all sides. And so I really think that it's shown on the budget committee. When I was on the budget committee, they appointed me vice chairman. It's shown when I was on the planning commission, they appointed me the vice chairman for that. And they say that, I would argue the point from the other side, even though I didn't really represent it, just to have the other side of that. So I believe diversity is very important. The second thing is encouragement, and in that ties into a lot of different things, but really that we have a lot of talent here, and there's a lot of really amazing people here in town, and if you can get the people to stand a little closer, and you can get them to believe in those that may not feel that they could, they will, and they can. And I don't know the percentage, I'm sorry, but the retirees, how much knowledge do those people have, And then you have the children that aren't graduating. What do they say? That Oregon has the worst high school graduation rate, and Lincoln County has the worst in Oregon, and Taft has the worst in that. 45 seconds. And so you can bring that, you don't have to graduate from school to be encouraged and to have those things. You can pull upon the experience of the business community and the entrepreneurs, contractors. And I want to, with those things, you can rebuild the community with that. And that's really important, that feeling. You can say a lot of stuff, but you know if it doesn't feel right, and you know that it's there. And that's really important. It's really important for me to give that out. And that's really what I would like to do, and have the opportunity to do so on city council and really speak for those things. So thank you everyone for being here as well. So thank you.
Okay, my name is James Stratton, and I'm running for City Council, Ward 2. And I speak more from my heart sometimes than I do my head. I have just grown to love this community, the people here that I've met, especially during this process, because I'm not a politician, I'm just a citizen like most everyone sitting in here. And I've met some great people, and the concerns have been pretty unanimous about how our city has been run. And I want to downplay the people on council because they're people that volunteer their time just like we will be, and I appreciate that. But to me, it's kind of obvious that we're in trouble as a city. When I see a report by the county commissioners that says since the year 2000, our wages are down 9%. Our poverty's up 24%. So 1 in 5 are in poverty in this city. And Lincoln City is the poorest city in Lincoln County. When I see numbers like that, I'm a numbers guy. I just got to ask the question, what are we doing wrong? And what can we do that will be right to turn those numbers around? A little bit about myself. I'm a retired builder out of Portland. solar developer. I'm one of those that made it through the 2008 bank crash debacle. I did not go bankrupt. I chose not to do that. I was speaking with someone earlier, take the honorable way out, and I sold my assets, my retirement, basically. My wife and I sold our retirement and paid my subs, and was able to keep our farm, a little farm for 20 years we raised our children on. But kept my integrity, chose not to in 2010 to not stay in the construction industry. I kind of had enough of it. The exposure levels were getting huge. And I didn't know when it was going to come back. So I'm on Social Security. My wife and I cleaned a couple of homes down here. So that's kind of who I am. I've got 3 kids. One boy helps the military in Israel on a volunteer basis. The other one lives in Hawaii teaching. But I just see this need here in our city of turning things around. I'm involved with the homeless. I was in Portland. I worked with Father's Hearts. I've experienced there. And that's a crisis here. When you have 135K to 12th grade homeless, and the 433 number, I think that was 2015-16, and the way it's been going is it keeps growing. So anyway, I would appreciate your vote. I'm just one of you, a citizen that wants to help out. Hello, my name is Doug Weldon. Grateful that they invited me here today and to give my little spiel here. I'm not a politician as well.
Good.
My priorities are going to be to increase the responsiveness, accountability, and transparency in our city government. I think we could use some improvement there. I'd like to create better paying year-round jobs by supporting and attracting businesses and reducing our reliance on a seasonal economy. I think there's a notion that this town goes dead in the wintertime. And I would just like to say that our little small business, small end, has done nothing but increase in business. So we're not going to take a negative attitude and say that nothing is possible here. We believe that people are coming here. They love this coast. I think that's why we do have diversity here on this coast, is that this ocean is a big draw. Everyone loves the beach, and me included. That's why I came here. Originally, I grew up on the beaches of Southern California and moved here about 40 some odd years ago and went into business as a builder as well, framing houses. I'd like to see an increase in vocational and educational opportunities for our youth, to assist them in finding meaningful work and to encourage them to create small business, because I think that's what this city offers, is a small business, and kids with, that's mostly what people are doing up here. Most of the builders do those kind of things. They're entrepreneurial in spirit, and I really appreciate those kind of people. I'd like to review our ban on big business and box stores. I think that could be an asset to this city and improve our economy. We have a regulation that says that 60,000 square feet is the limit on what we can do in terms of a box store. And I'd just like to see some flexibility in terms of our city government, in terms of our strict regulations on these kind of things. That a little bit of flexibility would go a long way to improve our economy. I'd like to address parking issues. That's a problem that we have in my neighborhood. All the beach accesses in this town get extremely congested come the summertime. And people fight over parking spots, people put cones out, all sawhorses in my case. There's things that we can do, and I like to see in the planning area this the way things operate is to think when we're going to do something like the Nell Scott Gap there. I'd like to see them plant, instead of just
considered in that one small area of land. I'd like to see them think about the impact on the neighboring beachside areas, because those people are going to be using our beach accesses, and we're already short on parking spaces. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm Judy Casper, and I'm running for Ward 3. And I came to Lincoln City about 20 years ago. Actually, I was a vacation rental person, and I ended up with Nell Scott. I liked it so much, I bought a house. And I went back and forth for those years, and 10 years ago, I retired there. I liked it because it reminded me of my rural Wisconsin community where I grew up. It was a small town, great environment, people who cared about each other. That's what I find enticing about our neighborhoods, is that ability to belong and trust and care for the needs of others. And I see that fading. That's why I'm running for city council. I want to retain that sense of community that's so important. I walked my neighborhood many times talking to people. And one story that was told to me by a realtor was she showed houses to a retired couple coming to Lincoln City. Beautiful homes up and down the west side of town. And at the end of the day, the lady turned and said to her, well, don't you have any homes here that have neighborhoods with real people? We like people. So in my travels with meeting people, I find that there are not enough places for people who work and live here to live. We see them living in Otis, taking buses and bikes to get here. And even if you were to put affordable housing in Otis, that would still remove voters from Lincoln City. My years as a speech pathologist and also working with the teachers union gave me experience in organizing. So when I retired here in Lincoln City, I naturally went to the Nell Scott Neighborhood Association as a representative and became president for many years. It was there that I learned the power of people's voice in this community. We were going through urban renewal at that time, and we had some rezoning issues. Actually, still today, we're in the zoning area where we have mixed use, and we're 365 days a year for PRDs. It's not an issue for me, it's way of life. But when we were going through rezoning, there were some issues that had to be addressed. Not all of these are credit for me, they're the voice of the people. One of them was a tunnel that was proposed to go from Olivia Beach to the ocean. And at that time, one of our members gathered research and documents and found that there was a biological wetland endangerment. So the tunnel could no longer be built. And lo and behold, it was a land use violation as well as to who would maintain the tunnel. And of course, Olivia Beach built the steps. The other one was 31 townhouses that were going to be built in high density. This was in our area. This was in 2008, probably just as the housing bubble was beginning to burst. And as a group of people who got together, we went 70 people in mass to the city council and reminded them this was not zoned for mixed use. We do not have those townhouses today, but instead we have 7 lots and 3 single-family homes. I care about this community. I care about the affordability of housing. I care about the resources and shelters that we need for the homeless. And I think it's time that we take those needs of the people and prioritize them. I would help organize neighborhood associations in this community so they feel that they do have a say. I would like to be that voice of the people in Ward 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. And that gives all of our candidates an opportunity to introduce their platforms and give a bit of an introduction on themselves. We have a number of great questions. If we don't get to your question, feel free to stick around afterwards. Ask the candidates yourselves. So many great questions. You should all be reporters for my newspaper. You can send questions to our newspaper. We'd be happy to work on those. So there are many questions for city council candidates. And we're just going to start in there. I'm going to start with Deanna and just rotate down. There's this is a question for all the city candidates, city council candidates. So we'll start with Deanna and Mr. Riley after that. Jim, Jim's going to be the last one to answer that. Jim got the first time up this first time. Now Deanna's going to start us off. So the question is, how long have you lived in Lincoln City? And tell us about the work you've done in this community and the groups you volunteered with over the years.
Okay, I've lived here 4.5 years after 30 years of visiting, more than 30 years.
When I first got here, I first organized my neighbors to pay Moore Street, which we did. And then I was elected to the Roads and Water District, and I served on board. And then I was elected to the board of directors for my neighborhood association and served as the president. And I currently am on the planning commission and look at land use issues, and we make decisions and also make recommendations to city council.
Thank you. Right.
Oh, I have lived here, I think 9 years now. When I first came here, I volunteered for what was the Oceana Family Literacy Center, and we did English as a second language. I taught a very small class of adults Spanish at night. I think we met 1 or 2 nights a week, I can't remember. I volunteered at the Seventh-day Adventist High School with their Spanish program. They ended up hiring, so that was great. I then got into the appointments. I tried doing the Visitors and Convention Committee. Really wasn't a good fit for me. The Budget Committee came after that and was recommended to me. Said, hey, you could do this. I did. I loved it. It was fantastic. And then I ran for city council against Jim. Didn't make that, and he said, well, if I win, you can have my seat. So I said, all right. so I did, and did that, and so I think that's it for what I volunteered with. But it feels really great. Oh, the school now, the Ocean or Taft Elementary School, you volunteer whenever they need it and stuff like that. So it's been really great opportunity to have those kinds of things, and I think that's sufficient.
Thank you, Riley. James?
My wife and I moved down here a little over a year and a half ago. I have come to this city for 45 years, so it's like second home for me when I come here. And I volunteer right now with Celebrate Recovery, and I'm looking forward to get more involved with the Taft Warming Shelter as time goes on here. And there's some ideas for that structure down there. So my heart is really for people. I walk my neighborhood. I've got to know so many incredible people. I like to talk to strangers. I can stand in a grocery line and just get a conversation going. I talk to our tourists. And that, to me, is even having not been a representative of the city, I was a representative this last summer on the beach, just talking to our tourists. I thank them for spending their money here and supporting our economy. Encourage them to come back again next year. And as far as volunteer work, this will be it for me. My skill sets as a builder developer, I've got business management, budgeting, know how to build, hands-on, ground up, develop dirt. So that's what I'm going to bring in the future is my skills. Those are volunteer skills that I'm offering the city. And I'm excited about that because I truly have come to love this city, the people, everyone. It's just an incredible place to live.
Thank you.
My name's Doug, and my volunteer work has been on my house for the most part since I moved down here. I do go to church on a regular basis, and they were finishing the church off at the north end up there, Faith Baptist, and I spent a lot of time laying final trim on the place and getting it completed. So, and working on the playgrounds and that kind of stuff to get that thing going and get it in operation. And met some very nice people there. But my skill set is very much the same as James's. I spend a lot of time on the beach access down there visiting with people, and that's kind of how I got involved with politics and just learning about things and talking to the people in beach access. And that's really my strongest skill set. Is I do like people, I love people, and I think I can communicate and get along with all different types of people. So that would be where I'm at.
you, Judy.
And I'm Judy. I've been here since before the casino was built. I remember the signs that said no casino. So that was over 20 years ago, but I've lived here full time, as I mentioned, for 10 years. I've been involved with the neighborhood association. And as part of the neighborhood association, we would assign people to advisory boards. And I'm very happy to say we've always had members on advisory boards to speak for residents in our community. I've also been a former planning commission member, and also I've been on the budget committee. I went through extensive community emergency response training. If you've never done that, I think it's a wonderful thing to know in your pocket for when the tsunami comes. But when the pack weighs more than you, put wheels on it. I've been a driver for Meals on Wheels. That was a very interesting, eye-opening experience to see where our hungry people really live and reside. Let's see, I think Nell Scott Refinement Committee. I've been on that advisory committee since 2014, and it's planning the development on the east side of 101 in the Nell Scott area. It's been very fascinating to watch. It's kind of like building a city, streets and infrastructure and houses and community planning. And it's been good to draw from the experience that I've had in the community work that I've done. So that's my part.
Thank you, Judy. Jim?
Yeah, I touched on a lot of this already, but the government experience I have, I've served on the city council, like I mentioned. I've served on Lincoln City Budget Committee 2 years. I've served on the Planning Commission. I've served on the Urban Renewal Advisory Board, and I spent a couple years serving on the Building Code Appeals Board for Lincoln City. That along with being the chamber member and just being here, the 22 years, I've got a little bit of everything around town, so I'll keep mine short. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Next question is, again, for the city council candidates, and start with Riley. What is the one thing holding Lincoln City back, and what would you do to fix it? And you have all of a minute and a half.
Housing, absolutely. Housing is where we're really struggling, and that housing will help homelessness. It'll help affordable housing. It'll help workforce housing. So wherever you can put a house, it's gonna get rented. I mean, there's builders here who know that, and there's contractors here who know that. And the city has the land, and you can talk all day long whether or not we should have been in the business and sell it all or not. We have it, and we can use it, and so we can have those things. We have 2 successful 99-year land trust houses that were purchased by people who live here. I personally am lucky enough to know those people, and how happy that is. How one of them moved in, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. So it's really great, and I would love that opportunity, but it's there, and we have all those tools, and we have all the things that we need, and we have the resources, the people, all of it. It's just we have to get that circle a little bit closer to get it really going, and I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to say, hey, this is what we have, and this is what we can do, and we have it, and let's do it, and encourage those people, and really get those people to believe that it can happen. And when you have that momentum will carry forward. So housing, absolutely.
Thank you, James.
I'd have to agree. That's the hot topic is the affordable housing. It's a lot more complex than what people think it is. We have to have the dirt. Riley mentions we have the dirt. Dirt drives what a house has to sell for as a builder. If I'm paying $100,000 for a piece of dirt for a lot, I can't build a $200,000 home on it. It doesn't pencil out. So that is a big issue, and we need to do something to attract the developers, builders here, because there is a builder today, developer that I listened to his interview that we interviewed today, and he's out of here. He's out of here. He's tired of the planning department. He's tired, just the whole process here. Says it's not a friendly, good experience for him. So he's leaving town. And I had met him actually 2 months ago, and I encouraged him, don't leave our city. But we're going to have to provide incentives, period. And incentives to builders and going to be, why should I come there? Because they're just like any other business. It has to make sense for them from a business standpoint. They're in it for profit. I wasn't in it as a builder to lose money. I wasn't in. So we have to address that. We have to provide incentives, and we have to find the dirt. City has a lot of it, but it's not the easiest property to build on. Villages is very costly to build on site of mountains that I've done all over the world. Well, I would like to talk about that too, but I think more important to me right now is to talk about our seniors. I have a friend that he's 84 years old, had his dream house in Rhodes End, and because of the taxation, he was forced to move out of that. When Rhodes End was incorporated, he was forced to leave his dream house, a beautiful ocean view, everything else, and he had to build another house down in a less desirable neighborhood. Beautiful home still, but his wife is not happy, and he's not happy as well. But if you ask him how he feels about the city and everything, he's going to tell you he's not real happy. And the reason being is just the bureaucratic type things that he's had to deal with. Well, he's on a fixed income, and that's why he had to move. He could no longer afford a $5,000 to $6,000 tax bill every year. And so I'm real compassionate towards older folks that are being forced out of their homes. I'm sure that is not exclusive to just my friend. I think it's probably a common story.
Well, since you just said one thing, not the thing, I totally agree that housing is one of the things that's holding the city back. But I also like to throw out there an idea about a gigabyte city because it involves jobs. And I would think it would be almost wonderfully helpful if we could be on the bandwagon to become a gigabyte city by having the cyber hookups and networks that would allow people to work from home, which they currently do from their jobs at the mall or the store. We all know somebody who has internet access and they work from home. This would be a great boom to our economy. And we could live affordably in those affordable homes because we have a transient population who moves with their jobs and can do work from home. If Cedar Rapids or Cedar Falls, Iowa can do it, and they're thinking about doing it in Sandy, it's not an impossibility. And there are grants that are now being put out to cities. What happens is one of the centers, CenturyLink? Yes. CenturyLink and Charter now have a monopoly on everything, but once it's broken up, there's going to be availability for expansion and ideas. And I think this would be a wonderful opportunity if we had something bringing people here with jobs, and it would be in the internet area.
Thank you. Jane? Jim?
Yeah, I agree with that, but to take the housing here, and once again, we're back to affordable housing. Affordable housing, waiving and giving incentives does cost money, but there are ways. First of all, we build 100 units of apartments immediately. Once they're completed, they go on the tax rolls. The city's going to start receiving tax revenue every year from now on from that project. So the money is recovered fairly quickly. Also, the city owns millions of dollars of property, not just the stuff like what villages, but individual lots all over town. They even own homes here. We can sell those off. City shouldn't be in the real estate market anyhow, as far as I'm concerned. We should sell those homes off and help pay those incentives so we can get some of this affordable housing started. Thank you.
I guess I'm last. Also, housing is, I think, our greatest need right now, and I have an idea. We have villages, everybody knows about that. The city owns it. And 20% of that budget to purchase the villages came from the affordable housing line item. And so my suggestion is, why don't we take 20% of that property and put it in a land trust, and then you can build on top of that. And that reduces the cost of the house almost by half. And so right off the bat, there's that opportunity. And you can make those, you can make it into something that is a gem for the people that come to Lincoln City. They will come here to see these new, small, beautiful, affordable houses. And I tucked in the trees up on, and tucked into the landscape. I think it'd be absolutely a wonderful thing. And there are many creative and strategic ways that you can reduce some of the permitting process. It can be streamlined somewhat. We just have to make sure that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We do have fees to cover expenses that do exist. They're not made up. They're budget line items. The development fees go into dedicated funds. So we just want to be real careful about how we make those adjustments. And I'm out of time.
Thank you, Deanna. Just so David and Marvin don't fall asleep on the other.
I was enjoying listening.
Well, now you get to speak. Question for David, you handle it first, and Marvin, you next. Slightly different for the two of you. What's your vision for higher education investment on the coast or higher education in general? David.
Well, that's a great question, and there's two different aspects to it. What's my vision for higher education on the coast? We are putting that vision into effect right now at the Hatfield Marine Science Center, where we are in the process of adding 500 students, 150 good-paying jobs at the staff level, and creating a world-class, perhaps the world-class marine science institution in the world. That's going to have an incredible impact on the future of the Pacific Ocean, the countries that are around the Pacific Ocean, and all of us into the future as we deal with ocean acidification, ocean warming, and hypoxia, and everything else that goes into that question. We're building OSU in Newport, but we have a broader question, and that is the future of higher education in the state. The sad fact is we're right now spending more money on our state prisons than we are on our state universities. That's unacceptable. And we need to find a way to make college more affordable and more accessible. One of the ways that we're dealing with that is relying on our wonderful community colleges. We got a system of community colleges where kids that are in high school now can get college credit at those two-year institutions, and the people that they go to those two-year institutions can carry those credits forward to a four-year institution, overall reducing the cost of attending college. And I was really pleased and proud to be involved in a measure that was going to make community college much more affordable by actually waiving most of the cost and providing free community college to kids that graduated from Oregon high schools. There's a lot more to be done. And I got to say in all candor, it's going to depend in large part what happens in 3 weeks when we have an election and we find out whether legislators go back to Salem and have to cut $1.3 billion out of the budget, or have $3 billion more to spend on important causes like higher education.
Thank you.
Very glad you asked that question. The cost in Afghanistan would pay the college tuition of every kid in America. Now this chart, I'll show you this chart. This is from nationalpriorities.org. This is $1 billion federal spending and jobs created. Military, energy and technology, healthcare, look at education. 26,700 jobs created. We get this money back. This is an investment that comes back to the taxpayer. This spending, we don't get any of this back. This goes down a rabbit hole. Now, all these politicians that are running are talking about jobs. But when they get elected, how do they vote? They vote here. Why did they do that? We were talking about this before with Oregon's corrections budget, $1.4 billion they vote on. $39,500 every year to hold a guy in a concrete box. We know that's a bad place to spend money. 70% of those guys are diagnosed with addictive disorder. I think 45% of them are nonviolent. Why are we doing this? Well, if you don't do it, I said, what if you voted against corrections? They'll throw him out of office. We have to start doing our job. We know what's the right thing to do, the smart thing to do, but we sit back and we let the, anyway. This is pretty obvious, it's pretty basic, we need to invest in our own kids. I'll tell you one other story. I have a son-in-law who hires people for IT development in the Seattle area. They have to hire their people from Asia. They just hired a girl from Pakistan. She's got a PhD. She's 24 years old. She's written a book on coding. She's been coding since she was 10 years old. Now, can you do that at American Junior High School? Can you write code at American Junior High School? We got to start investing in our kids. We have to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's start with David and work this way for David and the city council candidates. You believe the city is doing enough, and Dave, the city and the state, city council candidates, the city, you believe the city and or state is doing enough to address the homeless problem? If not, what would you suggest?
Well, homelessness is in the forefront of everybody's thinking, and it's not just a question of people that don't have homes, but also people that can't afford homes that are available to us. 14% of the kids in our public schools don't have a defined and confident place to spend the night. That's unacceptable. And we have a vacancy rate in this city of less than 0.5%. So people that work here can't afford or find a place to live here. You know, I'm gonna give you a quick statistic. I mean, in Lincoln City, if I'm not mistaken, 1/3 of the housing is occupied by people that live here. 1/3 of the housing are vacation homes, and 1/3 of the houses are in the nightly rental pool. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm saying it's a simple fact. If we want to address housing locally, we've got to find a way to make it more profitable for people to build houses that people want to live in. I think that's a first step here. We need to find some incentives to make that possible. At the state level, we brought home $40 million to the coast to build affordable housing during the last legislative session. That hasn't begun to kick in yet, but we brought the money home. The problem, as I saw it, was that we made it real easy to build big developments. We didn't make it easy for people that were small contractors to do infill or to build small projects. We've got to find a way to make sure that when we bring these kinds of opportunities, that they're available for all of our communities, and we can use them with large businesses and small businesses and big projects as well as small projects, because that's the way we live here at the beach.
The homeless issue, I think the city can't do it by itself. And the small charitable organizations are out there trying, just need help. I think it's up to the city to actually partner up with those different charitable organizations that are out there to help them do the job, you know, by, you know, if we need to give them land or whatever, I think we need to help the other organizations that are already in the business of helping those homeless people. You know, the city shouldn't try to reinvent the wheel. There's people out there already trying to help them out, we just need to help them out more.
We have the good fortune of living in Lincoln City, where there are very many nonprofit organizations who are coming together to help the homeless. We are really fortunate in that we have the biggest group of volunteers that I've ever seen. And I came from Portland. That's a big pool of people, but it's just amazing here to me, and that makes me very proud. But we do have this terrible and critical need to get, especially the kids, undercover, rather than it being a tent or somebody's couch. Maybe it should be housing. And I think the city is moving in that direction, like I said before, about pulling all of the nonprofits together to see where the gaps are, to see how it can be helped. We could look no further than Eugene to see a very successful project that has actually built housing. And they're small, they share a kitchen area, they share, they have a shower area, and they pretty much manage themselves. They come together, they have to have weekly meetings, and they keep it clean, and they're very proud of it. But they're small houses in a gathering where people live together, and I call that a really good idea. It is not very costly. And we do need the land for where these can go. We need the builders who will help volunteers build them. And the cost is not great. So I think that's one opportunity or one place the city can look to find some guidance to see how they're doing it and bring that, at least bring the idea here. I'm over time.
Can you just restate the question one more time, please?
I can.
Or not?
Do you believe the city is doing enough to address the homeless problem? If not, what would you suggest?
I think that the way the city has looked at homelessness, they probably have been doing what they feel has been enough. There's a $50,000 homeless fund that is used for funding, or you would apply and then give that money to those organizations. I believe the $50,000 is an arbitrary number, and it can be increased or decreased. And when it gets to the budget, those are line items. It's not really, because the budget committee doesn't really see those organizations or really know much. It's just a line item. From what I remember, it's just a line item and a yes or a no. So we can do more, and it's if you think you can do more. I don't think that everybody believes that there can be more to do. I believe that there's more to do. I think that the numbers kind of got switched around with the homelessness. I believe it's 400 and something children in Lincoln City homeless, and 135 of those children are outside. So ask yourself, how well are those test scores going to be? How well are those children going to do? There's they give backpacks of food on Fridays to those children, and I work with those children, and believe me, you have never seen a happier kid with a bag full of food. And it's wonderful to see that they have the food. But that whole weekend, they're building up to Friday where, I don't know, and then Monday comes around and they're like, yes, fine. I swear, I have a girl every single day. I see her at 3 o'clock. We eat at 3:30 every day. And at 3:05, she says, how much longer is it till we eat? Every single day. And what do you want to do with that? Do you want to do more? I want to do more. So that's how I feel about that.
Thank you. James?
Got my own. Yeah, I think the city could do more, can do more. One of the things I left out as a volunteer, I was on the budget committee this year. And I know Peter Ron made a motion for $250,000. They came back with $50,000, which isn't gonna cut it, so to speak. And I don't know, the homeless crisis, we're never gonna eradicate it completely. It's been around since biblical times, people without shelter, but we can certainly improve and knock down those numbers. And that's kind of a vision I have. In 5 years, I'd like to see a lot of these issues with homeless dropped considerably, and some resolve to it, along with the housing also, which fits right in there with the homeless. We've got to have places for them to live, and housing is going to be a part of that. And that whole growth process of building affordable housing, that's going to provide job opportunities for these homeless. And I know I've talked to several people about retooling some of these people, so to speak, where we can teach them some skills. And even in the construction industry, here I am. I've done every phase of construction. So I'm willing to put that out there for the homeless in a program to help teach these people some skills, and then put them into action, into work, and get them into some of these homes and apartment complexes that would be being built around the city.
Thank you. Doug?
Well, I agree with everybody else. I think that there's this is a real generous city, and I've seen it over and over and over again. People giving of themselves, giving of their resources and money. And I as well know the story of the $250,000 and him the mayor only receiving $50,000. And that could have been immediately used. Without, I know he doesn't want to be talking about it, but it is a fact. And there are properties here in the town, his property specifically down in Taft, if that is in the flood zone, and he's not allowed to, he's got a heart for the homeless, but he is not allowed to have any kind of a homeless permanent shelter there. He can use it as a warming shelter, but that's the extent of what he can do. And I think the city could be a little bit more helpful in terms of giving up on being rigid in terms of code restrictions in some cases. Thank you.
I think the city's working hard, working more than it has in the past. And I think it's doing well with partnerships involving charities and nonprofits. I can't help but think if there could be a vetting process for people, because some of these shelters require that there could be no one with any drug or substance abuse. And that's going to leave a lot of people out. So I think we need more services for those types of people, and maybe places for them so they can kind of go through phases. If you can get some rehab help, and then you get some part-time work in repayment, you have a place to live, meals to eat. So there's a reward involved, an incentive. I remember after World War II, yes, I'm that old, people lived in Quonset huts, and I don't know how much they cost, but I can't help but think that that would be a good solution to consider large areas where people can go through some kind of vetting process. And I think we have to accept the fact that there are some people who will be chronically homeless. And I don't know how to reach those, actually. I've spoken to a couple of gentlemen on the street, and they don't want any help. They get by just fine. It's their lifestyle. And maybe that's hard for me to accept, but I guess that's reality that we have to accept and help those who are willing to accept some help and services.
Thank you, Judy. What time we got here? How many people are used to sitting in chairs for 2 hours and not getting up? What if we have our 7th inning stretch? Everybody stand up and stretch for 15 seconds. And then I'll ask, does somebody have an update on the Cubs-Dodgers game?
3-1 Cubs.
No. 3-1 what?
3-1 Cubs.
3-1 Cubs.
6
In the 6th. All right, were they all beat feet? Out of here. All right, let's reconvene, folks. Let's reconvene. Okay, city council candidates. There's a lot of talk about Lincoln City's problems: homelessness, housing, panhandlers. What do you see as Lincoln City's top opportunity in 2017? And James Scrutton, we'll start with you. I'm sorry. I know everybody gets their chance. You want to start on top opportunity.
2017. That's a good one. Well, I think we do have the opportunity to change up city council, which will initiate hopefully some of the changes that we've been talking about tonight. And that is a major opportunity. We've got some folks running for city council that have some very good ideas, actually on both sides. But, that's what I see. We have the opportunity now to implement some things that are going to affect our city in a positive way, starting in 2017 when the new city council is sworn in.
Thank you. Doug?
I agree. I'd like to see a sense of unity in the city council that, to my estimation of it, hasn't been there. Been a lot of fighting for a lot of years, and it's discouraging to see that. Issues of VRDs and whatnot, that's been just preoccupying the city's time and energies, and I'd like to see that come to an end and see some just unity in the city government, and as well as the council working with the people in the city government. It's important. Unity is important, I think, and I think Riley acknowledged that earlier. I'd like to see the same thing. And really the only way I can see to stop fighting is to hire a group of people that have building knowledge and tackle these types of problems.
Thank you, Judy.
I think we have an opportunity to have citizen involvement. We have a big election coming up, and many of us have walked door to door and spoken to a lot of people in the city who feel that they're not being heard, they're apathetic, they feel helpless. And I think their vote for the people on city council this time can empower them to understand that their voice is important to get their needs met. We spent the past 8 years trying to get some kind of guidelines for special interests that have influenced the decisions being made. And I think it's time that the people know there are people who are listening to them by changing city council.
Thank you. Well, let's go up to Jim.
I too, I'll jump on the bandwagon. Unity is vital to the city council. We haven't had that for a long time. And we do have public involvement. The time I was on the city council, we did listen to people coming there, but we had so many, the VRD thing's been a disaster for almost the whole 22 years I've been here. So it's been thought about. That needs to be put to rest and move on and do things that are actually good for the city. So it's spending so much time. But again, it's just gotta be, everybody's gotta be behind the mayor, whoever it is at the time, better join us and get something moving in the city. You know, it's up to the councilors, they're the elected ones to put out the programs for the city. It's not up to staff to come up and say, staff recommends this and this, and let staff run the whole show. Councilors need to stand up and say, okay, we're the ones that got voted in, we gotta make the decisions, and let's make you what's best for the city. Period. Thank you.
I think we have an opportunity that we shouldn't pass up to diversify the people, the ideas on city council. That it's not just a different face to look at, but it's also different, new and creative and innovative approaches to some of our bigger problems. And I don't know that unity is what democracy is about. I think a little bit of give and take, a little bit of debate is always very, very healthy for a community. I also see an opportunity for neighborhoods to be organized. When my husband and I and my volunteers were out canvassing and talking with all the neighbors in Ward 1, we heard a wide range of interests that they would like to see city council think about, at least. Bring it up, talk about it, go out and talk to them. I really think that if you organize the neighborhood, that benefits the city as a whole, and it definitely benefits the people that live within a distinct area. And that also helps the city by taking some of its biggest problems, like take our wastewater treatment plant, for example. People need to know that it's going to be needing to be upgraded, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And a good way to get that word out is through organized neighborhoods. And so I think we have an opportunity here, folks. we can turn the tables here from keeping our agendas on the city council stagnant. Let's move forward. Let's get something done. Thank you.
I believe the city itself has the opportunity to let out a deep breath and say, oh, finally, this is gonna work. This is how we're gonna be better. And the opportunity to showcase exactly what a community can do when it will listen to all the people, come together, and benefit everyone. I think it's very promising, the things that could happen. I think we're positioned in a very great spot with what we have and what we could do with it. We recognize the issues, we recognize the things that need to be accomplished, and we can do that. And I think that that is the opportunity, is that it could happen. It could actually really turn and could get to that point, and not just talking about it, but actually doing it. And I think it's a great time to do that. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Riley. Again, city council candidates. Do you feel Lincoln City needs to diversify its economic base? And if so, what do you think is the best option?
Absolutely. I totally agree that this town is concentrated on the hospitality industry. That's basically all we have. We don't have what Newport has. They have a fishing industry there. They have a lot of different Walmarts. They have just a lot more opportunity than we have in this town. Hospitality is what we have. We need to recognize that that's an important integral part of this economy here, and we need to support it. On the other hand, we need to have new businesses. I heard, and they need to be encouraged to come here. I heard Don mention one time the possibility of bringing up a larger laundry facility that would supply all the motels. And I just would like to see that kind of stuff happen, where people would hear about Lincoln City, feel that it's a good place to come with their business, and invest their time and energy and money. It could happen. I'm optimistic that it could happen, but it does require that.
Thank you. Judy?
Well, if I think out of the box, I think we could create jobs here. Mr. Gomberg, maybe you could send some jobs up here from Newport, either for county or state. I think if we look at the rental properties that we have here for businesses and offices, maybe we could underbid Newport and get some jobs and positions to move up here. And that way they might even be able to have some affordable housing that is on the market for those who have full-time jobs. That might be one way to create a bigger economic base. And also, I feel there might be a need for training opportunities. We have a lot of service workers here. I know the community college is doing a good job starting some new programs now about customer relationships for our service wait people, or maybe those who come in as cutlery chefs. How do you handle knives? So you have a little bit of preparation before they actually just go into the service work. I think those might be a couple of ways to expand our economic base.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, diversifying this town is a challenge. I mean, we are what we are. We're a tourist destination, and the hospitality industry is always going to be number one here. And then we go back to trying to bring other businesses to town. That goes hand in hand with getting affordable housing thing going. We can't expect people to come here and not have a place to live, raise their families, and right now that's what we're at. I've talked to the people, I know the management over at the Outlet Mall. They're fighting over there. Almost every business got a sign in the window, help wanted, because they're having a hard time keeping managers and everybody else, because they just don't have any place to live, or they're having to drive in an hour away to work here. And it's, during our winter time, that's not a nice thing. So the affordable housing is gonna cause a lot of this stuff to happen, I think, over time. Thank you.
I'm not sure what we can do about diversifying our economy in Lincoln City. We do have probably one of the best tourist stops in the world. I do have an idea though, because we do have the looming issue of affordable housing. And I have this idea for, I keep mentioning the college when I talk about this, but that the students could develop a business plan. This is entrepreneurial, that they could, that's right here, stays right here in Lincoln City, that the students would develop a nonprofit business plan, and that other students in design would design affordable housing, and that students in construction would put this together, and that what we would have would be a prefab house designed and built. You know, you take it apart when you move it. But right at the college, they have a little bit of room. And then we can move those houses over to the villages, to that 20% of the property, and get going with that. That would provide students learning how business works. And who knows, this might be the new coast business that actually takes off, because every city in Oregon is having a difficult time with housing. So why don't we build them here and truck them there?
Yeah, I also agree with Deanna that the economic diversity is pretty much, it's a tourist town, and that's what people do. But if there is a way to increase our economy, I believe, would be something, a co-venture with the college, the contractors, the students. Somehow you develop a program for those that wish to follow those footsteps of the trades, and you can build that up. And by building that up, you're improving your economy. I don't know about diversifying it, so I don't think we need to diversify it more than we should encourage those that participate in it. And one would solve the other. You can build those types of homes or those kinds of things and educate, bring the community together, and provide for all in kind of one thing. And but it takes those types of people that would want that to happen for it to happen. So I think that's the encouragement of our economy, not necessarily the diversification of it.
Yeah, I think it's all going to start with housing, because we can't start new businesses and draw people to start new business here unless we have the housing. And the new businesses I see have to have a wage base that's higher than minimum wage. So I would see a light manufacturing businesses come here, maybe one, two, several. And also I think there's a great opportunity here for entrepreneurial businesses. I mean, I keep thinking of things all the time that I might do other than clean houses with my wife, so, which you may see in the future. But yeah, I think the businesses we can get to attract are some that are going to pay more for their labor. And there again, to get those businesses here, there's going to have to be incentives. What kind of incentives can we offer businesses to come here? Tax breaks for 3-5 years to come here and set up their businesses here. But it's always going to be tourism. That's going to be the main source of our economy here. We can certainly add into that next. So that's how I see it.
Thank you. David?
Yes, sir.
You're still awake? Measure 97.
Which one?
Measure 97. If it passes, what do we do? If it doesn't pass, what does the legislature do?
Let's talk about Measure 97 in 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And 97 is a very complex measure, made more complex by the $25 million that's being spent to either educate you or confuse you about the impact it's going to have. The measure says that C corporations that have more than $25 million of business in Oregon will pay a 2.5% gross receipts tax. Now, this is going to affect about 1/2% of all of the businesses in the state. And of those, of that proportion of businesses, about 80% of them are based out of state. Susie and I were looking at an article in the Statesman this morning that was talking about a business who says, if 97 passes, we're going to go out of business. We do $90 million a year of business, and we're paying about $90,000 in taxes. And I'm saying, goodness, they're paying less than 1% tax on their gross. What kind of tax rate are all of you in? Well, but there's a different question, and that is, how's it going to affect all of us? Is it going to affect our prices for what we pay on a day-to-day basis? And my answer to that is, we have the lowest corporate tax in the country right now. If higher taxes are going to bring about higher prices, then why don't the lower taxes that we have now result in lower prices already? That's not the case. We've got to deal with our schools. We've got to deal with our schools right now, and we've got 4 options. We can settle for substandard schools. We can dramatically cut other state programs to pay for improvements. We can ask all of you to pay substantially higher income taxes, or we can ask Oregon's largest companies to pay their fair share. This measure is supported by the League of Women Voters. It's supported by the Nonpartisan Ballot Review Commission. It's supported by former Governors Kulongoski, Roberts, and current Governor Brown, and it's supported by me.
Back to the city council.
All right.
All right, go for it.
I'm gonna vote yes on 97. I've been a small businessman all my life, and usually they come after us for more tax money. This is a rare thing when they go right after the big boys. Oregon is a state of small business people, and I think we're starting something in the right direction. It's gonna make a lot of people with a lot of money angry, but I think it should pass. You know, $100 billion in Afghanistan, 6 permanent military bases. We have 12 permanent military bases in Iraq. We've got to start looking at the money that we are throwing away in Asia. We have got dire problems right here. This fear of terrorists. Can you believe that? I mean, is there a terrorist in Lincoln County? If a guy crawls out of under a rock with a dark skin and a beard, there'll be 7 agencies swooping down on him. We've got real problems here that we need these resources and talents for. So, yeah, this is on 97 for me. Thank you.
Thank you. City council candidates. Who we start with? We got Judy to start. Will you attempt to regulate VRBs with regards to the number of nights per year in order to protect the residential neighborhoods in the R15 zone? Judy, and then we'll jump up to Jim.
Well, I'm hoping that decision gets made before I get on council. It's been 8 years now that we've been looking at that. So my answer is I hope it gets resolved. I'm kind of neutral on VRGs. As I mentioned, I live in a VRG area that has 365-day VRGs. I talked to a VRG owner this morning. She said, I wish it was just like it was before they started. And she owns a VRG. So I can't really give you a concise answer.
Okay, Jim.
I suck it. This is over 20 years. I think what's in place or being done right now is probably not going to work. It's not the same rules for everyone. You know, there's going to be some lawsuits over takings, property values. I can see that coming. It's happened before. It got rejected the last time we passed something. I think the only way it's ever going to be fair if we just have a flat set number of nights for everybody in town. I don't see any other way that's going to be fair. I mean, you can't tell the person behind you that they only have 30 nights a year and your neighbor that's on the other side of the block has 180 nights a year. It's not a fair way that we have it done right now, and I just don't see a way out of it unless we make a flat rule for the whole town. That's my opinion.
And I have to say, I'm with Judy. I really believe that the current city council is going to come to terms with this relatively soon. There's laughing. It's not good. But because this has been, I mean, it could be the legacy of this city council, the current city council, to actually wrap this one up. I think it would be good. Whether or not it sticks, I think I feel like Jim does, that there isn't a real good, fair way to make everybody happy. You can't. I'm surrounded by VRDs, and in the winter it's so quiet, and I can see all the stars, and it's nothing but a ruckus in the summer. So, you know, there's trade-offs. So we'll see what city council does before I'm elected.
Again, it was to say that 365 days is a way to protect the integrity of the neighborhood. Is that correct?
No, it was VRDs.
Right. So no, I don't believe a 365-day unlimited night rental in the residential R15 zone is a nice, effective method at protecting the integrity of the neighborhood. More houses for more nights a year does not protect the integrity of the neighborhood. And I voted no in the planning commission, saying exactly that.
Thank you.
Well, I could play it safe and say I'm kind of neutral, but I think it needs to be fair to everyone. And the idea of, like Jim said, somebody getting 30 and the guy next door getting 365, I don't agree with doing that. I think, to my knowledge, a lot of the people, locals, mind you, that I've talked to in my neighborhood, they felt it wasn't broke. What are we trying to fix? Why are we trying to fix something? We didn't have a problem with VRDs. I've had people say we really enjoy the people that come and stay in the VRDs, the majority of them. I'm sure there's some out there that are not managed well. There can be a problem with those. But, you know, personally, I don't have a problem. And the tourists, I love when the tourists are here. They walk by my house, it doesn't bother me. They're out there, the kids are hooting and hollering because they're pulling the wagon down to the beach, build sand castles. It doesn't bother me. It's just, if it was going to, I would not have moved here. I knew what I was getting into when I bought a home here. I was buying into a tourist town. So that's where I'm at. I just totally reject the notion that leaving the house empty for a period of time in the winter time somehow helps the city. It just doesn't. I've got books full of notes that people write how grateful they are and how much they love this city. I think there's a real it's just not common sense in my mind to restrict people from making a buck. I mean, I see no difference between a monthly rental dollar and a nightly rental dollar. I've said that over and over again, and nobody's convinced me otherwise. I haven't heard anybody tell me what the difference between the $2 bills is. I think they're the same, and I think people are lovely, and I like to see people make a buck. We've just been talking about the economy. So why would we want to restrict people and hurt people and tell them that they're not going to be able to have people visit their homes? It just doesn't make sense to me, and it hasn't all along. So when you have lovely people that you see on a daily basis, our city's reputation is kind of out there too that way. I've heard it from a lot of people. That's your economy. What do you want to do then? Why would we want to restrict people? The 30-day thing to me is a slap in the face to those folks. There's no way that'll ever work for a 30-day limitation on their nights. So I oppose that.
Thank you. This questioner asked, and this is directed to candidates Davis, Scrutton, and Weldon. Various individuals apparently supporting your campaign have reached out to out-of-town property owners to encourage them to change their addresses, specifically to vote in this election, or have reached out to them for out-of-town donors to contribute to a PAC supporting you. How do you respond to locals concerned about the influence of outside dollars in our local politics? And Jim Davis.
Well, I will admit there is some outside donors, but to date, or as of yesterday, I think I talked to John Skipper, which is my treasurer. 2/3 of the money that we have in has been from local residents. There is 1/3 out there that's come from, I guess, out of towners that have homes here, but they've supported us. We sent out a blanket email just about everybody looking for donations. And to be honest with you, I ran against Riley here 4 years ago, a little different deal. I spent $160 out of pocket. That was my whole thing for the election. Sorry to say I beat Riley, but anyhow, this time it seems like everything stepped up. And yes, so I mean, I don't think it's bad. 2/3 of the people that we did receive money from, and I received money in my personal mailbox at my residence, $100 checks, there was some $300 checks. So, I mean, I appreciated the $100 checks more than the big checks that came in. But there was a lot of money that came in this time, and it's been managed good, and I think we're doing a good job. And I know where this is going, as Rio has been pointed out, I don't think any of us endorsed each other. We're all three kind of got grouped together by a certain other group, which, you know, that's everybody's right. So, but everybody's talking about diversity in the council. I think it's more important that we have a council in there that has experience and knows how to get the job done. I mean, this council's been going on so long and arguing with each other, and nothing gets done year after year. We're sitting here and the housing situation's getting worse and worse and worse, and everybody's saying, well, we did a good job, and they're patting themselves on the back, and it hasn't resolved anything yet. I guess I'm out of time.
Thank you, Jim. James.
Okay, I'm not aware of us or anyone I'm involved with sending out anything telling people to change their address so they can vote here. I'm not aware of that. I don't believe that. I think that's mudslinging. And this has been kind of a wake-up call for me to see what happens in politics. And it brings out the worst in some people. Because I've already seen posts about me that they could get sued because they're blatant lies. There's no facts behind it, okay? And as far as the money that's been raised, that just tells me there's a lot of people out there, whether they live here in the city or they're second homeowners. The second homeowners, they have a vested interest in our city, okay? So they pay their taxes, and a lot of them, it's going to be their retirement home. That's where they're going to come and retire here in our city. And I say bring them on, because they've helped our city economically just by owning a property here, maintaining it, and paying their property taxes. So I just think it speaks volumes. We're getting a lot of donations, and that tells me there's a lot of people out there that have their mindset. They know what they want to see in this future city council.
Our mayor ran on a platform of pro-business, and he was pro-PRD when he ran. He won handily. I don't think he's received the respect that he deserves on that level. What's going on is just not appropriate, in my opinion. I don't know any of the particulars of what's going on, but I don't like what happened, and don't appreciate it. Second homeowners do deserve a voice. I have a second homeowner on one side of me. I have a vacation rental owner on one side of me as well, and I have a full-time resident, two full-time residents that are adjacent to my property. We all seem to get along pretty good. We don't argue too much, a little bit, but they're all good people. And people have differences of opinion, and it shouldn't get vicious. And respect is due everybody. that's what if I'm elected, I intend to be respectful to the other counselors, even if they're in disagreement.
Thank you. Thank you. To all the city council candidates, this person asked, if elected, would you vote to make the recent mayoral investigation, the Pope report, available to the public? Deanna, let's start with you.
Well, I don't know what's in it, and so I think that would be something that would be handled and thought of after someone would read it, and I wouldn't have that opportunity until I would be elected, so I can't answer that now.
The question is again, should it be public?
If elected, would you vote to make the recent mayoral investigation, the Pope report, available to the public?
I'm pretty sure that was voted that it would not be public, so we can say what should and shouldn't have done all day long, but it's irrelevant at this point because it has already been at council motion, seconded, and voted that it would not be.
James?
I agree with Riley. It's been voted on and it doesn't need to be made public and it just needs to get put behind us. There was enough city, our tax dollars spent on all of that and time and energy of the council, the attorney, and just need to move on. That's been put to bed as far as I'm concerned.
My understanding is something around the range of $50,000 of taxpayer money is spent on that. It's water under the bridge, and I agree with it.
Thank you. Judy?
Well, we had an apology for something that happened. And it seems to me it would only pique my curiosity as to see why I should be offended for an apology that I don't know what occurred over it. But I'm inclined to agree with the others that if the council decided not to release it, there must be a reason. But it still piques my curiosity as to why I get an apology, and I'm not sure why I've been apologized for.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the council. It's just time to move on. Let it be. Thank you.
Let's see, Judy, did we start with you last time? So Jim, field this one first, I guess. How would you like the city to proceed with this open space program, both in terms of existing open space and the acquisition of new parcels? Open space.
We, as a city, have an abundance of open space right now, which as the city grows, more is good. I hadn't thought a lot about this one, so I wasn't prepared for this. But I know the open space we have now, we took a lot of the quality property that was up at the villages, and we turned that into open space while I was on the council, I think, during that time. Planning commission, one or the other, if I remember voting on that. So there's a lot of open space up there. We have open space all over. We have a little thing called Pacific Ocean here, which is a large open space. Runs 7 miles up and down this town. So we're not at a shortage of open space property right now in Lincoln City. So I will, though, while we're on that subject, the villages at Cascade Head, I would like to see the city sell that off, get that money back in, and this, not raise property taxes on the people that live in this town, because we shouldn't be in the real estate business. I think 100% we shouldn't be in. I wouldn't want the city becoming contractors and competing with me, and I don't think the realtors like the city being realtors and competing with them. So that's my take on all things. Thank you.
Okay, about those open spaces. We are so fortunate to have had a forward-looking city council and voters who voted for the bond measure to pass to acquire these open spaces. They're fabulous. The Knoll is one that I visit, and I know how important that is to me today, just to be there, to be able to hang out there and feel the air, and how important it's going to be in the future for when we do build out the villages. And then I have a feeling that it's going to be a little bit overpopulated. Now you can go out there, maybe there's 6 people out there, and it's just an amazing view, and you can just feel so part of it all. And so I would say that right now we are currently probably at a really good place. If we increase the population, I think we should look for other spaces. Right now, we're really short on the small pocket park type areas. I know it's not an open space, but the city's currently in planning effort for looking at the park system plan. Do we have enough? No. So, and that includes open spaces. And so I think what we need to do is look at the entirety of the city, our population, how much it grows in the summer by 30,000 people, and have places for the kids to play. It rains around here a lot. Maybe we should have swing sets that have a cover over them. And again, my time is up. So many ideas.
The open spaces are a great thing. Here we have 3 parks for children, one in Cutler City, one at Regatta Park, and one at, I think, Northwest 28. We don't have a lot of places for the kids to go, and not a lot of things for them to do. You can't always go to the sand. Little children don't really like getting blasted in the face by sand when they walk around. So those forests, let them go outside. Those open spaces get people outside. There's one across from Regatta Park that I've been to. I haven't been to all of them. It's a great opportunity. They have volunteers, I believe. They trim it back so you're not getting hit in the face with sticks. I mean, it's just wonderful to just be there and just listen. It's not a negative thing, and if we acquire it and it's the right place and it can't be developed in the city, you know, all those the different things that would come to it. I don't know. I've never voted to have an open space, but you would look at it and see whether or not it's worth having, and luckily we have them. So I think that it's a great thing that we have, and a wonderful opportunity for families and visitors and tourists to go check it out. It's a great thing to do.
Yeah, I think we're good on our open space. I come from Oregon City, and my gosh, the open spaces we have in this city are incredible. We've been to all of them. And they mentioned the villages up there is 35.4 acres is what that is on the knoll up there. And we do have the beaches. And blowing sand or not, my kids didn't care. When we came down here, they didn't care what it was doing outside. They wanted to hit the sand. So I think we've got a tremendous amount of open space in this city. And what we do have is, it seems like it's well maintained, the trails, like Randy said, they keep it trimmed back. And my wife and I, we walk every day. So we like taking our dogs up in good settings. And also, we have plenty of space here. And if there's not, it's awful easy to take a short drive and go to Drift Creek Falls or up on Cascade Head or up to Sand Lake or any place like that, down to Newport South Beach. There's just so much to do down here, and that's part of my draw to the place. Is I love this coast. There's an infinite number of things to do. Fish. I go out on the reef fishing off my kayak with my son, and we just have a blast out there, dropping jigs down and catching big cod there. Yeah. So I don't think we have a shortage at all. I think there's all kinds of stuff to do.
Thank you, Doug. Open space. How would you like the city to proceed with its open space program, both in terms of existing open space and acquisition of new parcels?
Well, I agree with everyone else. I think we have a tremendous open space area. I think we have a little drop in the bucket here that's going through the loops, and it's the difference between significant and insignificant wetlands. The insignificant wetlands are places, well, there's one in Nelscott area. It doesn't have a name. We're going to name it Hoskins Creek, but it runs from Olivia Beach through our area out the Green Onion, and it could be connected to part of Agnes Creek. And what I see happening is it's overgrown, so I would be concerned about the maintenance and development of maybe connecting areas between significant open space or wetland areas to pursue that a little more.
Thank you, Judy. We are approaching the magic hour, and I'm a believer in deadlines. So we've got 5 minutes left, and what I'd like to do, Monica, Can you time for 30 seconds? I just like to give every candidate a chance to recap or to take 30 seconds and say, yes, closing statement, whatever you'd like to say, go for it, Marvin.
Okay, well, you know why I came here. I'm gonna leave you with the last numbers. In the last 802 days, the United States has dropped 54,611 U.S. bombs and missiles on 7 third world countries. 80% of the casualties are civilians. We need to talk about this. Thank you.
David.
Well, thank you, everyone. You know, elections are about choices, and all the attention is at the national level and the presidential level, but all the action is at the local level that's going to make a difference in your and my life. So I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody sitting to my left. You know, I don't agree with everything that's been said tonight. I'm not sure that everybody here would agree with everything that I've said, but that doesn't mean that somebody is bad or somebody is better. It means that honest people can disagree about the best way for us to move forward. And everybody that's sitting up here deserves your respect and appreciation for being willing to step up and do an awkward job for no compensation at great cost to themselves, to their businesses, and their families.
Just the only thing I'd say is I think I have the experience working with the city here, especially at City Hall. I've been up there every week for the last 22 years as a contractor, so I know how it works, and I really think I have the experience to make a difference. Thank you.
I don't want to say goodbye. I just want to thank you all for hanging out here for all of this time. It's hard for us, and it's probably harder for you. I really do think that all of us that are up here have something to say that's worthwhile for the city, and we do have our hearts in this. I do want to say, however, that I have been running a grassroots campaign. It is different than having PAC money. We hand wrote all our postcards that were just mailed, so hopefully some of you in Ward 1 will be receiving mine soon. And we've been going door to door and talking with people and actually finding out what the people in my ward are interested in. So I really, please, would love to have your vote. Thank you.
You know, 30 seconds is not a lot of time. But you may have received some information in your mail from my opponent that says that I allegedly gave $400,000 parking lot to a city employee, and that has absolutely no basis in truth. The rest of the flyer insinuates that the Planning Commission puts the interests of Lincoln City citizens behind a select few people, and has absolutely no merit, and is a slap in the face to the city council, and the Planning Commission. The untruths in Mr. Scrutton's flyers were either deliberately done or they were recklessly done. It was endorsed by the mayor. Either way, Mr. Scrutton owes the city employees, the Planning Commission, the city council, and me an apology. I would ask that you would also send a retraction flyer to all the families that you sent those flyers to.
Well, I thought tonight we were all going to be like lambs led to slaughter, and that wasn't the case. I appreciate all the questions that were asked tonight, and I just thank you for the opportunity to go ahead and run for city council. And I have to disagree somewhat with Mr. Hoagland on the issue with the parking. That will come out as time goes on.
Builders are visionaries, doers, and problem solvers, and they're not bureaucrats. They're willing to get their hands dirty and go to work. We're willing to do that for the city, and my commitment to the voters is to listen, to be transparent, and I'm willing to talk to anybody about any subject. I remain optimistic and hopeful, and I ask for your vote.
I don't think I'm a bureaucrat either, but I do have a strong commitment to this community, and I will work tirelessly for this community. I think we need to move the process in finding affordable housing by, first of all, putting out requests for qualifications, which needs to be done very soon, and not just to the people who are in state, but also out of state. I know the first request for the housing up in villages was not extensively sent out. And so I think we need to begin the plan, work together, and move on with our issues. I ask for your vote. I will work for you and be the voice of the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Judy. And that concludes, I'd like to thank the chamber, our sponsors, the Chamber of Commerce, the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, Chinook Winds Casino Resort, Monica and Candace, who did our timing, Cindy and Heather, who were on our committee. This whole thing has taken about the amount of time it takes me to run a half marathon, and this has been almost as grueling. And I wanted to thank all the candidates for putting yourselves out there. It's not an easy thing to do, and we certainly appreciate your efforts, no matter how things turn out. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Okay, I gotta end this.